All right, team, I think we are live. Sorry, let me just turn this down. All right. Welcome back. It's our last virtual town hall pre-election. It's a big day today. So as always, I cannot tell if you are watching unless you put something in the comments. So leave a question, an emoji. Hey, Nancy and Gary. Good to virtually see you guys. Hi, Phil. Awesome. And again, we will be putting this up on YouTube right after we are finished. So I will have time for questions today. If anyone's got questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. All right. So let's get rolling. We will go a little bit over a couple updates and then talk about voting since it's right around the corner. We're so close. All right, so COVID updates. We are at, as of about an hour or two ago, 1,940 confirmed cases in Carver County and 8 deaths. Now, that was one up from yesterday. So we are at 8 families now who have lost a loved one due to this horrible virus. And I just have to comment that I've seen a ton of photos and even driving around my area here, Halloween parties where people were not wearing masks and were not socially distanced. I just have to reiterate, like I do every single week, just because we are tired of this virus does not mean it is gone. We need to keep sticking to the plan, washing our hands, staying home if you're sick, staying home if you can. Just in general, wearing a mask when you're out, social distancing. Just because you are related to someone, if you do not live with them, they're not in your bubble. It doesn't count. So keep that in mind when you are planning your holidays as well. I know my family's doing very, very limited. It's just my parents, my brother, and I, and virtual for the rest of our family, which is really unfortunate, but we care about each other and we don't want to get each other sick or kill each other. So we're taking that extra precaution. So just keep that in mind. Follow Dr. Fauci's advice, follow the CDC and MDH, and continue to put the work in and the effort to keep our community healthy and safe so we don't have any more than 8. 8 is far too many. 8 is 8 too many, in my opinion. In Minnesota, we have gotten up to 148,472 total confirmed cases, 2,457 deaths. Again, far too many. I just checked on the school data, and that is the cases per unit of measurement are also increasing. So it doesn't look good for in-person classes. It's trending in the wrong direction. And I've talked with actually 2 people this week on the phones whose children have been struggling with distance learning and struggling with kind of falling behind and just not, they're a better in-person learner. So in order to get those kids back in school and get them the help that they need, we've got to get this virus under control, and we've got to make that commitment to each other that we are going to get it under control and get those case numbers down and trending in the correct direction. One other thing I just wanted to mention, a lot of people might not be aware, it's a really cool thing that Carver County is participating in. It's free saliva testing. Super easy. I did it myself just so I could see how the process worked. You order a test online, they send you all of the information and a little tube, and then you do a Zoom call with a supervisor basically, and she has you spit into a tube, you like show it, and then you pour a little thing in, shake it, and send it back, and you get results mine were within 48 hours, and I tested negative. So it's free, and you can find more information about that on the Carver County website. I think it's a new program that they're trying to see how well it works. So take advantage of it and check it out. Really, really easy. I hope that that's the future of testing. I hope we can get rapid testing. So if you do have people over, you can test them before they come in your house, that kind of thing. That would help people like my mom, I know a lot, who are really, really tired of being in quarantine. Just again, to reiterate one last time before the election, it's really heartbreaking to talk to people who have been quarantined since March 13th or whatever, March 17th, whatever day, who cannot leave their homes, cannot go hug their kids, cannot go see their friends or travel to their other home or go to the store. So it's now I've gotten to the point where I just get so irritated and angry with folks that are like, well, if people are scared or sick, they should just stay home. Well, then they don't get to live their lives, so other people can be selfish. So that's not an acceptable answer, and we've got to commit to getting it under control. So I am hopeful that we are going to wake up on November 4th and have elected people who are committed to doing that, committed to not politicizing the virus and masking any more than it has been, and committed to doing what's right for our community. Oh, thank you, Tracy. Emily, yeah, ideally we need kids in school, and hybrid is putting an insane amount of stress on teachers. Planning for in-person and online and for quarantine kids is not sustainable. I don't know how any teacher is getting through this. I've spoken with a couple classes and for various different things, and to see teachers do the hybrid or the distance learning and have kids in the classroom and manage all of that, it's stressful to even watch. And then these teachers are just, it's part of the game, or it's part of the plan now. And you guys are handling it so well, but it is not sustainable for everyone. So we've got to make some serious commitments and get it under control. All right. Yesterday, last thing on this, yesterday was the second day in a row of 3,000 new cases in a day in Minnesota. So we're still trending upwards. So it is frightening that we are approaching flu season now, and it's going to put that extra stress and strain on our medical and healthcare systems here. So, thanks, Isaac. Appreciate it. All right, so last month, October, was Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I cannot believe I didn't mention this earlier. A big part of my life that I don't often talk about on the campaign trail is sexual assault. I'm a sexual assault survivor from college. I had a pretty horrible experience being in a domestic violence or partnership situation where it did not end well. And part of my long road of recovery from that, of course, was therapy, which you all know I'm a huge proponent of and still go to a therapist every week. Highly recommend it. The other part is that I became an advocate. So I do a lot of speaking to classes and speaking to different organizations about my experience and then what I learned, and hoping to impart some wisdom or some context and knowledge to especially the younger generations. I grew up, a big part of my story is I grew up really in a comfortable environment where I didn't hear about sexual assault in any other format other than, Hollywood, like in a back alley from a stranger, that kind of thing. And that's not typical, unfortunately. So part of my speaking that I do is education on that. And I was able to do that last week, actually. So I speak with a couple different organizations. This one is through a good friend of mine who I met through Survivor Speak and Break the Silence, and then we worked together as well. And we were speaking to a class of Women in Society is what it's called. And they had the best questions, and it was so uplifting, and it gave me a lot of hope for the future. People that were, the questions that were being asked were in a context of keeping the victim in the driver's seat and not victim shaming, and being aware of how to help their friends if they're in a bad situation or a bad relationship or they see red flags, and how to do that in a way that is appropriate and helpful rather than, attention or gossiping and that kind of thing. Oh, thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. It's a really rewarding thing to do when we get feedback like that. Thank you, Emily. I appreciate it. And I was given an opportunity to talk about some of the legislation that I have worked on in the last 2 years through my current job at the Capitol relating to domestic violence and sexual assault. And I actually wrote a bill. I know I've talked about it on here before, but I actually wrote a bill with a lot of help, a lot of help, creating a universal framework for our higher education institutions here in our state to respond to sexual assault and domestic violence and dating violence. That does include stalking as well. There's the federal government, or the Department of Education, gives kind of a guideline set of rules, and within that, higher education institutions can kind of operate however they want in that system or those rules. it was really, there's a lot of holes that needed to be filled. It was really inconsistent across the state from what I was hearing through my circles, and speaking and advocacy and online groups and things of other survivors. So I got permission from one of the members I work with to do some research and do a lot of interviews and conduct meetings. And one of my favorite memories from working on this in the past year was I can't remember how many people were in this office. It's a bigger office, but we were packed in there pre-COVID in the before times. And it was all lawyers, Title IX lawyers from around Minnesota, different institutions, private education institutions, public, state schools, trade, all kinds of people. And it was some of the most powerful, I think it was all women too. Yeah, powerful women I've ever met in my life, trying to figure out a way that we could build this bill where people and institutions could still have some flexibility within it to do what worked for their particular institution and their capacity, and still be victim-centered and protecting victims, because it's a really, really tricky space of law to operate in. It's something that is a little bit unprecedented. So that bill, unfortunately, dropped a little bit too late to get a hearing right before COVID hit, and we all started working remotely and had to kind of drop every policy bill that was not COVID related. So I hope to continue to champion that in the next biennium and continue to work with those incredible folks. So really fun story that I typically get to tell, don't typically get to tell in those kinds of environments. So did that last week. It was a lot of fun. Really, really rewarding, and gives me a lot of hope for the future with those kids. The youths, I should say. All right, yeah, and if anyone has any further questions about that, I know it's not like campaign-wise, but I'm happy to talk about it offline in my advocacy capacity as well. So shoot me an email, a text, give me a call. I will be here. All right, big topic of the day, voting. All right, so voting turnout so far. Minnesota has had over 1.6 million people vote this year. Oh yeah, thank you, Nancy. I already know how to write bills and work to get them passed. I do. I was able to do that. I'll never forget my first bill I helped get passed on the floor. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about it. The dog hunting, or the deer hunting dog leash bill to track blood trails with dogs. I can tell that story again if you guys want, but I won't bore you. But yeah, that's such a huge time suck for new legislators to try to figure out, okay, I have this idea, or my constituent has this idea, what do we do now? And I can skip that whole part. I already know who to go to, who to talk to. I know like bills that I've already been thinking about, or gotten ideas from a lot of people. We've been on the phones a ton this year. I'll get to our actual stats later on, but getting all kinds of ideas. I got to talk to this person. Okay, we got to do this. I think this person would be able to write that. We can probably pull this from this state and make it work here. So I am ready to hit the ground running and go. All right, so turnout. 1.6 million folks in Minnesota have already voted. And to put that in context, in 2016, last time we had a presidential election and a state senate election on the ballot, 2.9 million people voted in Minnesota. Carver County, as of a couple hours ago, had 25,958 voters so far. So that's absentee ballots and early votes. We don't know how those folks have voted. Obviously, they're keeping a tally, but it's not publicly released. I don't think the election staff even know until 8 p.m. the day of the election. And to put that in context, there are 60,563 registered voters in our district, and 42.86% of those have already voted. That's huge. That's really huge. In 2016, 45,961 people voted in our district out of 53,635. So about 85.7% of people voted in 2016, and we are already up to about 43,000. That's really, really cool. So absentee ballots that were received have already been, they've started the process of feeding them into the machines. They're not being tallied until after 8 p.m. on election night, and the tallies will come out. They're commingled with people who have voted in person, so we won't know, this many people voted absentee and this many people until after election. So the big news this week, just a couple days ago, that was really kind of earth-shattering for a lot of people. The Eighth Circuit Court ruled that ballots received after November 3rd, regardless of postmark date, will be held separately, and there is a good chance that those might not be counted. They might be void. It's based on a couple of other factors, including some court rulings that may or may not come about. Basically, the decision several days before the election voided a decision made and agreed upon by all major political parties, the legislature, and the Secretary of State well before the primary in August. So all candidates and pretty much everyone in politics knew and had been promoting that if you sent in your ballot and it was postmarked by November 3rd and it was received by the 10th, that it would be counted. Now it's changed. They have changed the rules very close to the election. So it changes things a little bit for what we are doing here. It sets the stage for post-election litigation, which is really frustrating, but the Secretary of State did say that they are not seeking a stay, meaning temporarily voiding the decision. Because it's so close to the election, they're just going to allow it to go on until post-election and then engage in basically that fight to make sure that every ballot that's accepted after the 3rd to the 10th is counted. Right now, they're just being held separately, and we don't really know. But it's probably going to be a pretty nasty litigation. So if you're tracking your ballot online at mnvotes.org/tracker, you should be able to see when it was accepted. You may not be able to see when it was counted. I think some that are not updating that as often as we expected, but you will be able to see when it was accepted, okay? So if you're tracking your absentee ballot and it hasn't arrived by Tuesday, you can go, well, on Monday too, you can go override that by voting in person. It's all done by barcode. You don't need to bring in your absentee ballot if you are not using it. Obviously, don't vote twice, but the election staff will not let you vote twice. So it's all done by barcode. They're going to scan it, tell you, thank you, Ray, appreciate it. Can't wait to work with you from a different capacity. So it's all done by barcode. You don't have to bring your canceled ballot in. If you go to vote and you didn't check the tracker and it was accepted, they won't let you vote in person, but you can void your absentee ballot by voting in person, either Monday or on election day. So please keep that in mind. So if you are, do not mail your ballot. If you still have it, don't drop it in the mail. There's not enough time. You have to drop it off in person. We have a couple different options for that. You can either make sure that you are getting an agent to deliver it for you. That agent it has to be someone who is, 18 years old, and they can't, and not a candidate, sorry, I can't do it for you. 3 ballots max. So if that person has already brought in 3 other people's ballot, they can't bring in yours. So make sure it's someone, it can be someone in your house, it can be your neighbor, it can be pretty much anyone you know. And then that person will have to fill out documentation stating that they are bringing your ballot and whoever else they brought in. So that's how they keep track of it statutorily. So if you are doing that, dropping your ballot off in person or having an agent do it, that has to be dropped off by 3 p.m. on election day. And there are only 2 places you can drop off a completed absentee ballot. One is if you're a Waconia resident, at Waconia City Hall. If you are not a Waconia resident, everyone else in the district has to go to the Government Center in Chaska. They do have a dedicated line that's separate, so you just walk right up, drop it off. If you have to fill out the agent form, do that, and then you're done. I highly recommend doing that on Monday. You cannot drop an absentee ballot off at your polling place. It has to be either Waconia or Chaska, depending on where you live. If you are tracking your ballot and it hasn't arrived, and you know that it might on Monday or Tuesday, make sure that if it's arriving by mail, that it is accepted by 8 p.m. So if it's in person, you have to get it there by 3 p.m. on election day. If it's being mailed, it gets there by 8 p.m. on election day. I personally would not risk it if it's in the mail. I would just go vote in person. Mine has not been counted yet either. Yeah, I just checked mine not too long ago, and mine said it was accepted and will be counted. So I think we're a lot of us in the same boat here in the comments. But as long as they've got it and it's accepted, you're good. It will be counted. All right, where were we at? Okay, so voting early. We have a couple different options too. So voting early in person on Monday. It's the last day to do that in person. They're closed today, but they will be open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in both locations, Chaska and Waconia. If you are not registered, Minnesota does have same-day registration, so you just need an ID. That could be, it could be the papers, it could be a tribal ID, a learner's permit, a passport, a military ID, that kind of thing. If it's expired, you also need a utility bill, rental agreement, student fee statement, something like that. You can also have someone vouch for you. So again, they have to fill out proper documentation, but it has to be someone who has knowledge that you live in the place that you do. So if you're in an apartment, it can be someone who lives down the hall from you. If it's a neighborhood, it can be your next door neighbor, or someone that lives at your address with you. I believe can also do that too. So we do have same day registration. It's generally really, really easy. And you can do that either Monday or Tuesday. I talked about the drop-off line for absentee ballots. And then there's also a curbside voting option for those who are worried about getting out of their vehicles or can't get out of their vehicles. You have to pull up to the building, give them a call. I'm going to give you guys the number now, and it's also on the Carver County website. It's 952-361-1941. Two judges will been on the phones a lot, guys. I'm losing my voice here. So two judges will come out, check your ID, get you registered, all that good stuff. And then they will let you vote, and then they'll bring it back in and feed it through the scanner themselves. I just talked to the person who's in charge of the elections office in Carver County, and she verified that is how that works. So not for an absentee ballot, but it is for an in-person voting option. All right, so I would highly recommend that. I know folks have been waiting hours in line sometimes, so go early. Be ready, have warm clothes on, have a snack, have a chair if you need one. Be ready for that. I'm predicting that Tuesday will be less crowded and less because it'll be more spread out across all the polling places, but it may still be, it's a huge turnout this year, so it may still be massive, massive turnout, and hopefully not too long of a wait for everyone. Okay, voting on election day. Again, same day registration, same things apply. Agent delivery, if you're having someone drop off your ballot, it has to be in by 3 p.m. that day. Okay, one thing I want to touch on, because it's been in the news a lot, and I know I'm drinking tea as much as I can. I can lose my voice at 8 p.m. on Tuesday night. So I want to talk a little bit about security and election protection. So there's a couple different groups that have been working within Minnesota, nonpartisan groups and partisan groups, who are specifically dedicated to making sure that every single vote counts. Every single eligible voter gets a chance to vote and can do so safely. There's a lot of really smart people working on this, and people that I really trust personally, and folks that I know and organizations that I know that are doing everything that they possibly can. We've got teams of lawyers. So I'm going to give you guys a hotline number that I want everyone to save in their phones. I know we've been putting this out on social media a lot. So there's a hotline, and the number is 833-335-VOTE. Keep that in your phone, and if there's any question at all, give them a call. I think they're having like 60 lawyers in that room to answer your questions. Doesn't matter how silly it is, if it's something fishy, if it's something weird, if you saw something bad, give them a call and they will handle it right away. Also, please let us know so we can also track that ourselves and just make sure that everything's on the up and up. Just one thing to note too about poll challengers or poll watchers, as they've been called in the news, that person can only challenge a vote if they have personal knowledge of that person voting. They can't just profile somebody or make a judgment just based on visualizing or hearing something. They have to have personal knowledge in order to challenge something. So there should be no intimidation happening at the polls. There should be definitely no campaigning at the polls. Candidates and campaigns are not allowed within a certain amount of feet within the polls or to the polling location. So keep that in mind. If you see anything, give that number a call. They will help you out. I will be in constant communication with that team as well throughout the day. So let us know. And we'll come back to that. Actually, let's skip ahead. Okay. Jumping around in my agenda a little bit here. So election day, our campaign has 4 drivers on call. So if anyone has an issue getting to the polls, text me, call me. My number is 952-856-7343. And we will make sure that you have a ride to the polls. I can't be the one to drive you, but we do have 4 drivers on call for that. Southwest Prime is also giving free rides to the polls, and they have a great website. Great note, Nancy. That's a really good point. You cannot wear campaign apparel at the polls. Nothing. I think in another state, Black Lives Matter was ruled as a campaign apparel. So anything that's like kind of related to politics, unfortunately, just don't wear it. Just put a jacket on. Just don't wear it. Just don't risk it. It's not worth it. Also, masks are required, as we know. So keep your mask on. And don't wear a mask with a candidate on it. So as much as I love to see you guys in my shirts and my pins and all that, do that when you're not voting. Do that all the time otherwise. All right. Southwest Prime is giving free rides that day. And then Uber and Lyft, I believe, are both giving discounted rides to the polls that day as well. So you've got a lot of options. We will make sure that you have a ride if you need a ride. Just let me know. Again, that hotline, just keep that in your phone, spread it around, give it to everybody else. If there's any issue, any question at all, give them a call. And then that evening, myself and Dan Kessler, who is running for, I love that, Emily, yes. You can wear pearls and Converse tennis shoes. You sure can. Yup. So myself and Dan Kessler, who is the DFL endorsed candidate running for 47B for the House seat. Arlen Brinkmeyer, same thing on the A side. We are having a virtual election night party, election night celebration. So right at 7:45, we're going to, 15 minutes before the polls close, we're going to start our Zoom link, our Zoom room, and everybody's welcome. And that information can be found on my website, addie4mn.com/celebration. You can find the link and the password and all that good stuff. So the 3 of us will be giving just some brief remarks right at the beginning, and then it's just going to be an open room. My family is going to be here with me. Me being a nervous wreck, I'm probably going to be pacing in front of the screen a lot. But we'll give some brief remarks and play some tunes and stuff while we're refreshing the Secretary of State's website repeatedly and watching the national returns come in as well. So everyone's welcome to pop into that. I know there's a lot going on that night, so come and go as you please. It'll be pretty relaxed that evening as far as structure goes, not relaxed as in mood goes, I know. So if anyone is interested in helping us on, yes, Gilly, please do that. That's amazing. Dye the tips of my hair red and walk around the voting sites. Yes, I support any color hair you want to do. Hey, Jaden. All right. If anyone is available to help us election day or the couple days after, we do need help. I will be making chase calls all day, meaning I will be calling people who have already said that they're supporting us or have said that they're voting that day, and we think that they're supporting us. We'll just be calling through and making sure that they have a plan to get to the polls and when they're going and that kind of thing. So if you're available to help with that, I need some help. I would love that. Please let us know. You can email. Oh, thank you, Phil. I know. I'm not ready to give up Halloween yet. Yes. Okay, I'm going to put this in the comments to that website, 4mn.com/celebration, if I can spell correctly. There you go. So yeah, it'll be live. I can't say when. Well, I know we're going to be speaking right away, 7:45, 8-ish, and then it'll just be on the rest of the night. I'll leave it up as long as everyone, like, people want to be in it. It's not a real structured, format. So yeah, it'll be up. I know people will be in and out. Oh, right. Yes. Duh. Election brain. It will be a Zoom, not a live, like, in-person event. but it will be a virtual event. Yeah. Woo! Election day is close. All right. And yeah, I know some folks are making like their own appetizers at home, like election themed stuff. I encourage, any kind of food, drink that you might need to help you get through the night. I will be eating a lot of carbs that day, I'm just going to say. Okay. And yeah, if you're willing to help with either of those, let us know. You can email me, email Nancy at addie4mn.com. Let us know. We will get you something to do that day. And I know there's some groups of folks that are going out to like wave signs over overpasses and on corners. Please feel free to do that as well if you need extra signs. We've got a few extras. We've got a few extras of the bigger ones. I think we're almost all out of the small ones at this point. So 5 days after Election Day, that's all we have to gather up our lawn signs by law. They have to be taken down 5 days after Election Day. So we will have a couple teams of people out getting those lawn signs from folks. So if you want to help with that, we will need help with that too. We're going to collect them and keep them for 2 years and put them out again in 2022. So on that note, if you want to keep your lawn sign for 2 years, you certainly can. Just remember to put it up at the right time in 2022. And if you want us to hang on to it, I'm more than happy to. We've got a large barn I can store them at. So just leave it up and we'll have some folks run by and grab it. So Jaden, the Zoom's going to start at 7:45 that night, and it'll be up all night pretty much. All right, so campaign stats. I wanted to go over what we've done in the last year and a half. So I announced to my friends and family that I was running on my birthday, not this year, but the year before, so 2019. Wow, that seems a long time ago. Yeah, and then we announced publicly on my mom's birthday, September 20th in 2019, and a lot has happened since then. This campaign has changed from traditional, what we thought it was going to be, door knocking, which I love. It's my bread and butter. I absolutely love it, and I couldn't do it this year. So I've grown to love phone banking. So we have had 28 now. This is our 28th town hall. We started this right around March, and it's been really rewarding and successful, I think, for not only for me to keep learning and being held accountable. And I've got folks in the comments and my guests that have been pushing me to be a better candidate and be a better future state senator. But the ability to share that information that I might just be blessed enough to get with everyone who's watching, and continuously sharing how I feel about things, my stance on things, my values, my priorities, that kind of thing. So I talked to a voter last week that said, yeah, I went to go look for a video of you explaining all your stances, and there was just too much content, which is fun. I think so. We had a great conversation after that as well. So a couple topics, or some of the topics that we've talked about, and I'm sure this is not an exhaustive list: mental health, racial justice, criminal justice reform, policing, elections and voting, higher education, public education, K-12, government 101, how a bill becomes law. We talked about local government, veterans, transportation and infrastructure, housing, the climate crisis, the postal service, healthcare. We had a small business roundtable. We talked about the courts. We talked about farming and agriculture, how to be anti-racist, what that looks like, what that means. Sharing community stories. We talked about some of my past careers. I've shared a lot of personal stories. And we had so many special guests that I owe a huge debt of gratitude to. Folks that are experts in their fields that were able to come on and share their time and talents with us. And I'm so deeply, deeply grateful for that experience. And I hope that it's helped a lot of you, undecided voters, or even, decided voters, learn a little bit more about me and about these topics, and how we can shape our future based on our relationships and our coalition building. So that has been amazing. Again, all of those are archived on our YouTube page and on our Facebook page. Hi. Okay, so contact-wise, my dog can't wait for election season to be over too, so I can talk to him and not a screen. Contact-wise, we have made over 43,000 contacts into this district. So phone calls, text messages, emails, that kind of thing. Mailers are not included in that number, so there's more. But over 43,000 connections across the district. That's mind-blowing. That's amazing. And I didn't do that myself. That has to do with our over 140 volunteers. Over 140 volunteers that believed in this campaign, that believe in the vision that we have and the future that we're trying to create, enough to donate their time and their efforts and their talents and their ability to talk on the phone to strangers to get that done and to create an environment where voters feel like someone cares about what they have to say. They care about their story. They care about what they need, and someone's here to listen. And that's a win in and of itself. I'll get emotional if I go talk any more about that. But 43,000 contacts. I'm so proud of what we've done. We've had over 500 hours of screen time for events, whether that's a fundraiser, virtual events. We had a great yoga event, like phone banks, parties, all kinds of stuff. Interviews and questionnaires. So I have done 2 radio interviews, 2 podcasts, 1 Twitch stream, 30 plus screenings for endorsements. Filling out questionnaires is included in that, and participated in 3 candidate forums. And unfortunately, my opponent did not participate in any of those, so I can't show a side-by-side comparison. But I was there, and we do have we've reposted those on our social media as well. We have placed over 350 lawn signs around the district. So for someone who comes from an organizing background who hated lawn signs before this, I've grown to love them, because I cannot tell you how many people I've called and they said, oh yeah, I've seen the signs. So if you have a sign or you helped place a bunch of signs, thank you. Thank you for doing that. You have made me a convert. I love lawn signs now. All right. And like I said, 140 plus volunteers. And our core staff here, I'll give you guys more of a shout out later on in the celebration, but this has been a crazy campaign, a crazy year, over a year. And what we've done is incredible, and thank you all for that. We need Addie. No more partisan noise that gets nothing done. We are sick of that. Yes, thank you, Joanne. We need progress and not obstruction. And thank you, Nancy, for saying that. I do. I've seen, through my work, I've seen candidate or elected officials that are not accessible, and how frustrating that is for their constituents to feel like they have nowhere to turn. Like the state legislature is their only option or avenue for resolution of some kind, or help solving a problem, and they feel like they can't reach out to that person. That doesn't work. On the flip side, I've seen candidates and elected officials that are so accessible that they're putting their calendars online publicly, so you can see what lobbyists they're meeting with or what activists they're meeting with, that they welcome any kind of person, any kind of political persuasion to speak with them. And I've seen that work. I just read a letter to the editor for another one of the folks I worked for, who said, we don't agree on hardly anything, but the fact that that person was there and opened their office to me and had a meeting and we found one thing we agreed on, that was like life-changing for them. That was a huge game changer, and that's so inspiring to me. That's how I always strive to be as well. There's just so much of this, like, deals being done in smoky back rooms and, pushing each other into our partisan corners and not working together because it might help the other party. And like, that's so old school. That is so not helpful. It's obstructionist, just like you said, Joanne. It is obstruction. It's hindering progress. And we're done. We're done with that. I'm done with it. I know everyone watching this is done with it. I know a lot of people on the phones are done with it. So on Tuesday, we have a chance to say, we're done. We're not putting another person who's just a mouthpiece for a party in a position. We're putting someone from the community who is committed to being open, being accessible, and striving for the best possible thing for that community. That is what I'm committed to do. I've been in positions where I had to work for something or on something through work that I didn't personally agree with, but I knew that it was the best thing for that person's community. And that's the same thing that I will do as a state senator. Putting your ego out of the way. You're not a good state senator, a good elected official is not just looking for the next thing. They're not, okay, I checked the box of running for this office. Now I check the box of running for this office. So now I can do this. and they just want to be on TV, or they want the power grab, whatever it might be. They just want to help a political party. That's not effective representation. I've seen that. I'm really sick and tired of it, and I'm sick and tired of the partisan noise and nonsense. It's not good for our community, and I am so excited that the next biennium we have a chance to not have that happen anymore. That is rewarding in and of itself. I love that, Tim. That is a great quote. Martin Luther King, we will either live together as brothers and sisters or perish as fools. I just got chills. 100%. That is accurate. I mean, look at where we're at now. Look how long it took the bonding bill to get done because of partisan games, and the Alex Smith insulin bill because of partisan stuff. Like, we've got to get away from that and back to a place where we can collaborate and come up with the best bills and the best legislation possible. Yeah, agreed, Tracy. Yeah, thank you. All right, post-election. Yeah, we talked about that. Okay. All right, so a couple takeaways I just wanted to end on, and there may be opportunities for this kind of interaction to continue. We'll see. I'm definitely taking November 4th to not be on my phone and just sit around with my dog all day and contemplate the next move, regardless of the outcome. So there may be opportunities where we can continue to do these virtual town halls. I love doing it, and I love having the experts on to really do deep dives into different topics. So there may be another opportunity to do that. But for this last one before the election, let's talk about some takeaways. So some things that I've learned throughout this campaign. This is my first time running for office for anything. I mean, I was a regional representative in the Young Trainers Association with the United Professional Horsemen's Association, but I just kind of got nominated for that and went with it. So learned a lot. Oh yeah, Jaden, I can put that in there. For there you go. So this is my first time running for office. It is no joke. When I was an organizer, everyone said, oh, it's so different when you're the candidate. I never believed it until I did it. It is really different. I was not as prepared as I probably should have been for people in my own party to be critical, tell me what to do, how to look, how to speak, what to wear. I was really shocked by that. I was expecting that from the other side, but not really from my own. So that was bizarre. And just trying to learn like the interactions between different organizations and different groups and that kind of thing. That was interesting, I'll say. So I always say neither party is right 100% of the time. I still stick by that 100%. And that goes for campaign stuff too. So it's really important to me to surround myself with people who are optimistic and uplifting. Not all the time, because not everyone can wear rose-colored glasses all the time, but people that are committed to humanity and bettering humanity. And I've been able to, thrive basically in this campaign environment because of the people that I've surrounded myself with. And it took a while to get there. Stuff gets thrown at you. Luckily, this race, knock on wood, has not been really in the weeds nasty. There's been a few really interesting things that we've had to deal with. But we were able to keep it very high level, I think, highbrow, especially from our end. So I'm very, very proud of that. That was something we were very intentional about. I did not want to run a campaign that was negative and attacking, and I think we were able to do that in a successful way. There are a lot of people in this district who are willing to kind of buck the two-party system and the partisan stuff. I constantly, every single day, every single phone bank, probably every single 20 minutes or so, am talking to a Republican who is planning to vote for me, talking to a Trump supporter who is planning to vote for me, people who are splitting the ticket and I'm the only Democrat they're going to vote for, and vice versa, people that are, have been voting Democrat that are questioning it this year because of one thing or another. Less of those people, but more on the other side. And what I've been told is, yeah, Elizabeth, exactly. Like the optimism, the hope, the commitment to the work, for the community, and for no other reason other than to help the community. So I think that resonates with a lot of people, that I am from here, that this is my home, this will always be, and I'm not here for any other reason other than to give back to my community, the community that raised me. I owe it to you guys. So I think that resonates with a lot of folks. And I talk to people every day that, we don't agree on everything, and that's okay. We can agree to disagree in the areas and agree on the things that matter, that really, really matter, or be creative in a solution that might work for the both of us. I hope people are doing their homework. I think so. We're getting a lot more of the emails, asking for clarification on a policy platform or anything like that. The overwhelming majority of people that I've talked to have said, I've done my research, or I've watched your videos, or I talked to your volunteers, and they don't have any follow-up questions. I think because we've just put all of the information out there as much as possible. And I've answered some really tough questions, and I'm happy to continue to do so and earn those votes. I know every single vote where someone fills in that bubble next to my name, that needs to be earned. I don't just walk into a district and walk into a community and get those votes because of whatever, that we have to dig and earn every single one. And I do not take that lightly. I do not take that for granted. It truly means a lot to have that vote of confidence and in my abilities to deliver, right? So the next takeaway I want to chat about a little bit is the desire to return to some form of normalcy. Now that applies to both politics and to the virus, the coronavirus, and our kind of way of life right now. It feels like we're at kind of a standstill with the virus. Who's going to be in charge of the federal government for the next 4 years? What leadership are we going to see from that? And how do we deal with it as a state in the next couple of years? And there's just such a huge desire for folks to get back to normal. And I think, I constantly say the way that we do that is to get the virus under control, and I will still stand by that. Politics-wise, I grew up, we talked about this a lot, I grew up in a home that was very conservative, or my dad's a libertarian, and my grandfather worked for George Bush Sr. in his cabinet. And so I grew up in a conservative household, and, we've kind of shifted away from that a little bit. My mom has, my brother certainly has, and I have. But being able to speak from a place of authority in that, or experience rather, in that kind of mindset, and remembering what I would talk about as a kid. I mean, I was a founding member of the Chaska High School Young Republicans Club that doesn't exist anymore. But I vividly remember being able to have conversations about liberal politics and about democratic policies in a way that wasn't attacking or condescending or fear-based or scary or anything like that. And I think a lot of people here do as well. I feel bad for the younger generations, like younger than me. I'm 32, but the ones that are 18 and it's their first election, this chaos of this election and our state of politics, that's not normal. This gaslighting and this fear and this craziness, really, this is not normal. There's a huge desire to get back to some form of normalcy, and I am right there with you guys. I can't wait to engage in politics that are helpful and not harmful, and optimistic and not fear-based, being a joyful warrior. I'm excited for that. All right, the last two, emotions are very high right now, so I'm just going to try to keep it together. Carver County is the greatest place in the world to live, and I will stand by that until the day I die. I was raised here. I was raised in Deer Run in Victoria. My family moved to Watertown, and this is my forever home. And I've always thought that. I've lived in a couple different places very briefly. Lived in Illinois for just over 2 years, and I lived in southern Minnesota for a little bit. And then, of course, when I was in law school, I lived in St. Paul. This is the greatest place in the world. And it's that way because of this community, because of the people here who are committed to looking out for each other and standing up for each other and doing what's right. The folks, I mean, you can just look at the, Facebook groups. It's not all, roses all the time, but when someone needs something, there's people there to help them. I've seen huge resiliency from our school boards and our teachers and our new superintendent over at Eastern Carver County Schools and Watertown as well, coming into quite a interesting mess and trying to navigate that and figure out how to deal with the referendum failing, and then a pandemic on top of it. The resiliency shown by our small business community and the community that rallied behind them to keep those doors open and keep supporting them. And sorry, I'm just trying to read the comments. Yep. Jaden, if you scroll up a little bit, I put it up earlier. It's just addieforamen.com/celebration. And this is one of the few communities or counties, I think, in our state where you can drive past a family farm that's been passed down for 5 or 6 generations, and they have 40 head of cows or whatever, and you can get to a brand new neighborhood that's just teeming with young families who have moved away from the cities and they're coming here to settle down. And we have the most beautiful place to live with rolling farmlands and beautiful suburbs, and a community that really cares. And I love it. I have loved every single second of being on these phones and hearing people's stories. And these are strangers sharing stories with me in the hopes that I can help fix something, or I can hear them and take that story to the Capitol with me. That's amazing. That's incredible. That means so much to me. Kelsey, this is my first presidential election. I was able to vote in out of, you're going to make me cry, Kelsey. Out of all the candidates, you were the one I was most excited to vote for. I love the campaign you're running. As a young person, it gives me a lot of hope. Thank you. That's why I'm doing this. There's so much fear and anger here in politics, and it has really turned off a lot of people, from engaging and talking about it. And Kelsey, your generation, like your age you guys are driving this. You're leading the way. You have the power to change everything about politics, and we will do that. We will kick out those folks that have been there forever and aren't doing anything. We will kick out those folks that are just there to be a mouthpiece for a party. And we will take over and do things that are helpful and collaborative to our communities. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, anxiety is very high right now. I agree. You guys know I struggle with it, and it's really tough. It is very, very tough right now. But we can't let that, and this voter suppression stuff, we cannot let that intimidate us. I wear a sweatshirt a lot that says a quote from our Senator Tina Smith, I refuse to be intimidated. And it's hard. It's not always easy, but we cannot be intimidated by that stuff. That stuff is created to intimidate us, to push us out, so we don't have to make the hard decisions to help everyone in our community, that we can keep the people in power there and just continuing to exist and not really help the folks that need it. So excited for a fresh race and fresh ideas. Tired of the status quo. We are in a dire need of change in this country, and it starts at the state level. I'll tell you what, Kristen, I'm glad you brought that up. I've been asked a lot if I would ever run for higher office, and the answer is no, absolutely not. State government is where it's at, state and local, because you can see what you're working on. You can see the fruits of your labor, and you can see the changes that you're making. That is so powerful. And I want to live in the community that I'm representing. I want, if my neighbor has a problem, that I want them to come talk to me about it. If you guys have any issues, I want you to be able to text my cell phone and say, hey, I need help with this. Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. The term public servant has gotten away from us a little bit, and I am excited to bring that back here a little bit. So it's all very exciting. Okay, last thing I want to end with too, and I'm happy to take questions if anyone's got them. We have made waves. We have changed things out here. We have put people on notice that they can't just sit and expect votes to come to them, that they have to work. We have changed the narrative out here that, not all Democrats are the same, and not all Republicans are the same, and not all people that think one way on the issue are the same. We've opened up a lot of communication on various different issues that we have never talked about here before. I don't think in my whole life I've ever been a part of a conversation about criminal justice reform, and now it's every day. Or healthcare, and it's every day. And that's what got me into the race, and that's what people are talking about still on the doors, like real life things that are affecting people today. So we, regardless of the outcome on Tuesday night, we have changed things out here. We have made waves. We have created space where there wasn't any before. We have created an environment where people can participate in local politics and really make a difference. One of my favorite memories from our last volunteer meeting, we had our oldest volunteer and our youngest volunteer, 82, I think, and 15, saying how excited they were to have participated in this campaign. And I'm really, really proud of that, because we tried to do that. We tried to create this environment where people were empowered to participate and to make change and make these waves, and we did it. So regardless of what happens on Tuesday night, that is a win in my book. That is a huge win. And that has nothing to do with me. That has everything to do with this team and with our community, everyone who's picked up the phone and answered our questions, everyone who's liked a Facebook post and shared it with their friends, everyone who talked to their neighbors. That we built this huge movement with every single one of you. And that is amazing. We have to be proud of that. That's really, really cool. So, all right, team, that is all I have for today. Unless someone's got questions, I'm happy to answer. I'm going to give you guys my number again. In case you need me, text me, call me, 952-856-7343. The Voter Protection Hotline, 833-335-VOTE, V-O-T-E, VOTE. I will be on the phones all day on Election Day. Postcard writers too. Yes, thank you, Nancy. We can't forget them. We've sent out thousands of postcards to voters too, and yeah, that's painstaking work. So thank you, postcard writers too. Yeah, I'll have a big thank you post or video or something go up after Election Day, but pedal to the metal until the very end. We will be making calls and digging and scraping for every single vote until 8 p.m. on Election Day. Speaking of, if you are in line by 8 p.m. and the polls close, you still get to vote. Don't leave. So I have a reminder of that set to go out at, I think, 7:30. But yeah, tell your friends too, if they're in line by 8 p.m., they won't kick you out. You still get to vote, but be there by 8 p.m. So, oh, thank you guys. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, it is a huge week. Whew, I know. Okay, and Nancy, I'm going to steal a page out of your book too. Self-care is massive, huge. I know it's really high anxiety and high stress right now and high energy right now. Take care of yourselves. Get some sleep, drink some water, watch a funny video, take a break for a minute, and then get back on the phones and keep working. All right. Thank you all. Oh, you guys, this is awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, let's do this. Carver County has some of the top turnout in the nation, and I know we are not going to miss that again this year. This is a huge year. We're already really close. So, I'm very proud of this campaign. I'm very proud of the volunteers and what we've created here. So I have no regrets. We've left everything on the table, and we will continue to do so. Speaking of that, if you want to help us on our phone bank today, we got a phone bank from 4 to 6 p.m. And tomorrow we have a 10 to noon and 4 to 6, I think. But that is on our website and our Facebook page as well. If you want to make calls with us, let me know. We'll get you signed up. We'll get you trained in. We're getting down to the wire now, so people are typically either all in or not answering the phones. So it's getting a little easier to decipher that stuff. All right. Well, take care of yourselves and just breathe, meditate, get through Election Day, pedal to the metal 100%, and we will see you guys around. I'm not going anywhere. I will be here for you and with you every step of the way. All right, team.